Cricket stadiums have an essential place in the game's history. Hosting performances and games that can define careers, each individual ground respectively holds moments that can never be taken away from it. This is why it is such a tragedy when a cricket venue is lost to history. Today, we're going to travel through time to go through some of the biggest cricket stadiums that now no longer exist.
Australia might have to go get 200, folks. Here's Tate to have another say about that. Oh, it's got to be 6! It is 6! It's 15 yards over the top!
The largest stadium to ever be built in the South Island of New Zealand, Lancaster Park was a staple of the New Zealand cricket calendar throughout the 20th century. Hosting 40 test matches from 1930 until 2011, the 38,000-seated stadium was the home ground of the great Sir Richard Hadlee, who managed to pick up a remarkable record of 76 wickets in 14 test matches at the ground. This is why it hurt the hearts of so many New Zealanders when in 2011, the Christchurch earthquake damaged the stadium beyond repair. Because of this, Lancaster Park was bowled over in 2019, and now only the ghosts of a few remaining landmarks remain to commemorate a place that was so integral to New Zealand's cricketing history. One of the biggest stadiums in the world for its time, Melbourne's Waverley Park, otherwise known as VFL Park, was a central part of Australia's cricket calendar in the 1980s. Hosting the first ever Super Test as part of World Series cricket, this 90,000-seated stadium was one of the first grounds to ever play day-night cricket at. The stadium was never fully utilised though, as it always remained second fiddle to the MCG as the main cricketing stadium in Melbourne, not only due to its size, but also the fact it sat 25 kilometres out of Melbourne. Once Marvel Stadium was built in the centre of Melbourne in the early 2000s, Waverley Park was no longer needed and was actually left abandoned. The grounds fields were left to overgrow, with its facilities eventually damaged by vandals. The stands to Waverley Park were demolished in 2002 and were replaced by apartments. The ground still exists as a training facility for the Hawthorn Football Club, but is no longer used as a cricket ground. The home of Otago cricket in New Zealand, Carisbrook was a 30,000-seated stadium situated in Dunedin, New Zealand, hosting 252 first-class matches and 10 international test matches between 1955 and 2004. This floodlit ground could be described as one with character. The ground would become infamous for its Scotsman Grandstand, an area outside of the stadium where you could view the entirety of the ground for free from a public viewing spot. Trains that went past this area could often be found slowing down to a near standstill during games to allow passengers the opportunity to get a glimpse at how their national side was doing. Sadly for Carisbrook, the ground was bowled over as the demand for a large-scale cricket venue in the region wasn't needed, and a purpose-built rugby stadium was constructed in its place instead. Prior to the construction of the iconic New Wanderers Stadium in 1956, the home of international cricket in Johannesburg was played out at a ground known as the Old Wanderers Stadium. The ground was South Africa's premier turf wicket as it hosted 22 test matches from 1895 until the start of World War II in 1939. Unlike some of the other grounds on this list, this stadium's downfall was brought about by unlikely means. Old Wanderers was located in close proximity to one of Johannesburg's main railway stations, and by the late 1920s, this train station's passenger numbers were outgrowing the station's facilities and was in need of an upgrade. So despite the status of the Old Wanderers cricket ground, the land in which this ground was situated on was sacrificed for the railway station, and by 1946, the ground was completely gone. This mammoth 51,000-seated stadium, situated in South Australia, was a key home of World Series cricket in the 1980s. Built in 1974, the ground hosted a number of key first-class fixtures under its floodlights for games that could not be held at Adelaide Oval. Like Waverley Park though in Melbourne, AAMI Park was always the second choice venue for cricket in South Australia behind the Adelaide Oval. So after World Series cricket finished in the early 80s, AAMI Park rarely saw cricket feature at the ground. And once Adelaide Oval received its upgrades in 2014, there was no longer a need for AAMI Park. So the stadium was bowled over in 2019. On this channel, we tell stories of games and moments like these, so make sure to check out some of our other videos if you want to hear more. As always, thanks for watching.